maybe just like our our participant from UN said that there's geographical opportunities and differences in terms of performance of agriculture, and also sector-wise. Maybe there are sectors that are more attractive, which maybe banks might want to consider. Secondly, is about capital investment financing. What is the experience of the financial institutions with regards to capital investments in agriculture?
Maybe Daktari can respond to those ones first, but the one on insurance, I have somebody from insurance who would like to respond.
Thank you very much. I deal with insurance, and I've dealt insurance for a long time. And I do try to talk to farmers about there being agriculture insurance, because it is there. And it is so good because, number one, it is very affordable. Number two, it also takes care of loss of income. For instance, if you have projected that you'll harvest 1,000 maize of bags, costing so much and giving you so much income, and then it didn't rain or there were locusts, you can claim and you'll be paid. Or the poultry, like somebody talked about the eggs, something happens and you don't get all those eggs. Make sure that you count your chicks before the eggs hatch, because if they don't hatch, the insurance imagines it hatched and you are paid what you had planned to get as your income simply because you paid the premium. But I think there is lack to access to information. And I think what we can do in this regard, IRA, because it has the capacity, can do a lot of sensitization and let farmers know that there is agriculture insurance. It is easily accessible. It is not expensive, because it can really make a big difference. And it would also help those that give credit to farmers. Probably when when a farmer approaches you, you can include it as a necessity for them to be given credit, that they must also have that insurance. And also as a bank, we have bank assurance, and they can assist the farmers get that insurance. So I think what needs to be done in regards to insurance is that farmers need a lot of support, even from the banks themselves, so that they don't feel so dismissed. We have a lot of potential. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Well, you talked about rain-fed and whether there are opportunities within irrigation programs. And I think at some point we thought that when the government was investing heavily in dams across the country, it was actually to serve as irrigation feeders in terms of providing that support to farming around the environments within which the dams are. And of course, the game changer in terms of getting away from dependence on rain agriculture is actually irrigation programs. But then those farmers that have actually invested heavily in irrigation there's a better view in terms of their credit profile compared to those that are fully dependent on rain. And of course, even for many of us, I think bankers have less trouble lending to flower farms, because flower farms are heavily invested even in terms of irrigation programs, because they are able to produce all year round. And of course, that in a sense sends a message of the potential for that to generate more revenue, even from an all year round production. You mentioned where I come from. We grow maize one season. We plant in April, May, around from March, harvest in October. One season in a year. So a full 12 months is dependent on one harvest of maize. And of course, that in itself is, there's no potential for other revenue sources in between. If the entire farm is on maize, it takes 8 to 9 months to mature. Now the risk is much higher because you're depending fully on the rains. If the rains fail, the whole country bread basket is actually wiped out, and we are all in trouble in terms of accessing maize. So potential for irrigation to turn around, and of course, even short season, you're able now to start doing short season production with adequate rains, because now the reason why a majority of maize farmers say for instance, rely on one season is because it's known. April, there are rains. Sometime in July, there are also rains. And that's only supportive of rain-fed maize agriculture. And so with a different pattern in terms of access to water, then that can turn around. And of course, even the focus on more short-term, even higher paying, higher yielding commodities would come in much more handy when we have irrigation programs in place. Selection criteria in terms of those that are invested heavily in agriculture, you're right. We've treated agriculture as a default. Even we tell our children, you work hard, otherwise utalima shamba, you will go to the farm. And as if farming is not a viable business entity. So ideally, I know of farmers, particularly even in the North Rift, who have actually invested heavily. I'll tell you a small story in terms of there's a particular farmer that said you take all his children to agricultural training right from young age. And all of them have pursued the best training in agriculture, even some going out of the country, studying in advanced countries on agriculture. And all of them have come back to work in the farm. Now, if you visit the area, you will see a complete difference if you see their land versus the land around. Because they are invested in technology, they have invested in picking up the best that need to be done. So if it's about soil, they say soil profiling, they've done that. And the produce from their farm cannot be compared to what is actually coming out. And bankers have extended huge loans to them. You're told of even hundreds of millions, because they've mechanized everything, including tractors that don't require drivers to actually operate. So GPS operated farming. So in terms of timing of harvest, timing of fertilizer application, timing of all that is structured within, there's a knowledge base that is embedded within the farm that then is actually applied to optimal levels and high yielding, because per acre they get over 30 bags of maize per acre, yet all other average farmers are making 15. So all those two cannot be viewed the same by lenders at the end of the day, but they have invested in information gathering, they have invested in technology training, going for the best practices and understanding the timing for the best agricultural practice to actually happen. So yes, we have a problem. We have made agriculture a default, that if you can't do well in any other place, go into agriculture. And of course, that a lot has to do with, then we will be doing agriculture that is just traditional agriculture. We know that in this season, in this region, we grow beans, we grow groundnuts, we grow, all that. And even less consideration about the best methods of doing the same thing in the same region. So we need a mind shift in terms of how we treat agriculture, but of course that also can be directed. We've seen countries that have developed very long-term programs for agricultural support. And of course, government policies targeted at that. If you're doing irrigation programs, do we actually finish what we begin in terms of support programs? Or they are seasonal? This year we are doing agricultural financing. The other year we are doing deforestation. The other year we are. So ecosystem support mechanisms also need to be put in place. Geographical differences, yes, you mentioned about NPLs definitely differ across geographical zones, but unfortunately data capture now is aggregated. So I mentioned about the need for us to invest more in data capture, in being able to map out, because now we need, just like the National Bureau of Statistics used to do national surveys, and now they're doing county surveys. I think that's the way to go, so that we map out counties and know this county is heavily prone to these types of weather disasters, or at least unpredictabilities of weather compared to others. We map out specific county risks that need intervention, so that even when the county government comes up and says, hey, in this zone, we have a problem with flooding, our farms flood, what can we do? So interventions are targeted at that become then county specific as at that. We hope that we will have more disaggregated data going into the future. We need to invest more in disaggregated data, geographical zoning, and of course, being able to understand what is of greater potential in agriculture in particular zones then becomes a real issue. Capital investments in agriculture, capital would follow where there are incentives at the end of the day. And the question then is, where are those incentives? Is the policy environment predictable for capital to be heavily injected into a particular sector? What is the future of that sector looking at our own country here? I was just imagining when we were having discussions that in most of our villages now, land is becoming smaller and smaller with population growth. Even a farmer who had 5 acres and now had 3 sons, each son is occupying less than an acre because his homestead's developing. Is it an opportunity for us to start reflecting on aggregation schemes? We change the mindset so that people stay in one corner and then the rest of the land is available for large scale, at least larger scale farming than what we are seeing now. So capital would follow where policies are. Where there is no interest in policy, it paints a picture of unpredictability in terms of investments in that segment. And then, of course, we need to invest more and even ask, at least if there is government representation here, can we have clarity in terms of the agricultural policy going into the future? Is it one of those pillars in government? Is it one of those to be considered going into the future? I've seen there was a time we visited Japan and wanted to understand the policy ecosystem within Japan. I'll use Japan for purposes of just giving an example, is that they have a long-term plan, but then they have what is called a white paper, an annual plan for each sector. So an annual plan is just an implementation of the long-term plan. But there is foresight in terms of you can predict that there is largely not going to be a deviation from this route that the government is taking. Do we have similar in our countries? Or today, if we have a regime that is focusing on industrialization, government, agriculture is actually left out. If there's a scheme, there's a regime that is focusing on infrastructure, everything else is left behind. So I think we have an opportunity to rethink our policies, predictability of those policies, and support mechanisms that need to be put in place, because no country has grown without really providing the support and incentives, as well as the support programs, targeted support programs for specific sectors of interest. So we have that to consider. So unfortunately, I'm leaving us with more questions than answers, but ideally it's the state of affairs as we need to reflect on them. Thank you.
Okay, maybe we have the online questions. We need to help us to read the online questions.
Okay, we have a comment from Rithiwani Sadiki, and he's saying Frederick financial models for the smallholder farmers is critical. A credit sharing facility model is also critical. Results for financing or impact for financing, which way out, KBA. How do we influence chamas and saving and internal lending communities since they are keeping money under their beds? Is it healthy? Brokers are a big risk to the smallholder farmers. Then we have another one from Joseph Getigi. Agribusiness or farming requires equity or patient capital for long-term projects, establishment that take some years, realize returns, which we need the bankable ideas. Then another question comes from Bernard Wabuge. Kindly elaborate on the comparison in the region and international. The performance did not look fair because the countries are more advanced. Those are the ones that we have from the online participants.
Okay, so okay, yeah, thanks for that. Definitely the chamas, savings, communities, and brokers, as well as Shylocks, are also financing in a way some of the agricultural activities that are there. And of course, we know how some of them can be very predatory in terms of the lending practices. But this sends a picture of we are relying more on the social collateral, the capital that is within the social network to be able to access facilities. That paints a picture of when you go for formal financing, you ask for the formal collateral, what is defined within prudential guidelines as a collateral. So we have a case of heavily informal financing of agricultural activities, because then we are relying just on friends and family, social networks that we have in place. What can KBA do in this space? Of course, KBA, again, our role is limited to only banks and microfinance banks. But then we shape the policy landscape, particularly for lenders at large, because we account for more than 80% of the financial sector in Kenya. But what do we do in terms of interventions for people to access formal finance? We have literacy programs. We have financial literacy programs that we run, and those that are even targeting the SMEs. We have a program called an Inuka Enterprise program. It's actually targeting to de-risk SMEs and make them attractive to bankers. So we train them. So far, we've trained over 60,000 SMEs across the country in collaboration with the National Chamber of Commerce. And the whole idea behind training them is really to give them a head start in terms of, as you begin your businesses, from a micro standpoint, you need to be formally registered as a starting point. Then second point is keep good records, because bankers at some point in time when you need financing will be asking for records. And as you do this record keeping, you can demonstrate the journey through which your entity has grown. Because we talked about data, we need to capture data along the operations of the enterprises that are there. And of course, these enterprises cut across all the sectors of the economy and in all the 47 counties of our country. So we also have monthly webinars with all the SMEs, and we provide them with opportunities for leveraging on the market opportunities that are arising at any given time. They take advantage of that because we speak about what are the opportunities, say, for instance, within the Hustler Fund, what are the opportunities within any tax incentives that come on board. So we shed more light on them to be able to actually see that there are opportunities in the market that they may not have seen. We also organize meeting programs so that they have this peer learning. Those that have advanced, that have moved from micro to small to medium enterprises, and some even to large enterprises, are able to share the experiences along the journey and what that journey has brought to them in terms of relationships with the lenders. Why they need to keep a strong relationship with the lender is becoming critical, because we remember there was a case one time where one lender said she had difficulties accessing 1 million shillings from banks before. But after getting into the program and doing formal operations, she could access small loans for a start. But now she's even accessing up to 100 million shillings to really grow their businesses, but she's kept a constant relationship with their bankers, able to demonstrate at one point to the other how they have grown from one level, even financial advice from banks in terms of diversification, that one of them was actually doing clothing. And now they've had to diversify to other segments because after COVID, the issues around trading channels and supply channels being disrupted, it became an issue. So COVID came at a time when she had just diversified into other sectors. And of course, the diversification schemes also need to be informed so that they are not exposed to the same shocks that affect the market. And in so doing, they are able to remain afloat even when things are not so good economically. So we have financial literacy programs that then enable the use, at least enable customers be able to access formal finance in that case. Patient capital requirements, definitely for lenders to be able to believe in a business proposal from a farmer, they must be able to demonstrate also the long-term view of the project that they are looking at and what plans they have in terms of sustaining the programs that they are putting the money into. And of course, that patience relies also on the structures that they have put in place, policy environment that is in place, because today you can say all farmers to grow avocados, but if it's not clear what the markets access to markets, what government is doing in terms of supporting access to markets, then it becomes a problem going into the future, even for those farmers. So they may be very profitable for a short window of time. So would those people access long-term financing? Definitely no. So long-term view of issues would need to be very clear for patient capital to actually be injected in. I believe I've answered the colleagues online. Any other?
So I think we want to appreciate Daktari again with the applause of So I just want to pick one item which Daktari talked about when he tried to explain about how families are extending and how the land is being distributed to the first son, the second, and the third. And it's very interesting because then something came into mind about that mindset change. Because not so long ago, I saw an article, strategy was eaten for breakfast by culture. So again, it will be very interesting to see how then the culture comes, to play into this. Again, Daktari, thank you so much. So again, thank you also for the, our online friends. Without further ado, I'm reminded that for those of us who came in late, kindly remember to register at the back end. And also those on online, please continue to register and share your email addresses. It's now time for breakfast. So is it breakfast? No, it is tea break. And yes, we are going to do a tea break for 20 minutes. So, and it's right behind us there. So if we say that it is to the nearest 10 minutes past 11. So can we kindly be back at 11:30? Thank you so much. I'm also reminded that we need to release the online participants for the next 20 minutes. So we will be back on air at 11:30. Thank you so much.
One, a devastating fire broke out during a British military exercise in central Kenya, destroying over 4,800 hectares of land. British Army to pay compensation for blaze. However, according to a recent open letter signed by 7,000 plaintiffs, the victims have yet to receive compensation. And Lionel Messi is one of the 8 Ballon d'Or amidst a remarkable career and a glittering ceremony here in Paris, Spain's World Cup winning star. Tara Bonmati is the women's time. Messi, the trophy awards, above all else, inspiration.
Naona nimeingia. Hydromaderera bereria. Inadwasi good.
His peers in league football, Messi was crowned the 2023 men's Ballon winner. It's the 36-year-old 8-time lifting coveted trophy.
Who can see this summary when you are here?
Kindly mute.
Bernadero mute.
2023 winner was also her country's World Cup win this year. Spanish central midfielder Aitana Bonmati. He also won the Champions League Spanish title with Barcelona last season. He's seen in recent years. I feel like I'm dreaming. I remember when I was young, I won the Ballon d'Or, and I felt very far from being here. But now, having won this award, it's a moment of pride. But at the same time, I'm speechless. It's a hat-trick for Bonmati, and she's the first player to win the Ballon d'Or, UEFA's Women's Player of the Year, and the World Cup Golden Ball for her outstanding World Cup performance.
Strong word. Saying it at times. On TikTok, he was finally apprehended trying to give a genius idea.
So are we all back? So apologies to our online team there. We already ran into 11:34. 4 minutes past. I think I'm tempted to give the next introduction, which is financing opportunities for business from German desk. And we would like to invite Sophie from I&M Bank for her next presentation. Please, welcome, Sophie. Karibu sana.
So thank you so much for the kind introduction. Good morning, everyone, if I can still say good morning. A big thank you, first of all, to ASNET, GIZ, the German Development Corporation, and the Business Scouts for this opportunity today that we can present ourselves around the topic of financing opportunities for agriculture in Kenya. It's a pleasure to be here. We had a very interesting first presentation from Daktari about the hurdles that are currently faced within the agriculture sector and financing. And I hope I can touch on a few of those. So my name is Sophie, and I work for the so-called German desk of I&M Bank. And maybe to give you some background why there's a German lady based at a Kenyan bank. The German desk is actually a collaboration between KfW-DEG, that is the German Development Finance Institution, and I&M Bank, with the goal to reduce the financing gap offer that exists among local trading partners of German and European companies here in the market. So in particularly in this context, we would look to support agri-processors who export to the German market, or those ones who are considering to import goods, machinery, equipment, etc. for your local production here on the ground. All of that falls under my expertise at German Desk from I&M Bank, but I'm also very happy actually that we have a number of other I&M Bank representatives here today who are similarly competent to support you, even though you might have not any relations to the German or European business. Maybe I would just ask my colleagues to wave your hand, so then you can see all these very competent ladies are here today to support you. So in the breaks, Q&A sessions, lunch, whatever, approach them. If you're keen to learn more about I&M financing, they're happy to have a chat with you and discuss how we can support. Yes, so my role is called German Desk. As I said, maybe you go to the next slide, please. And as I said, German Desk is all about international relations between the local banks and the banks abroad to ease these business relations between you and the European market. So we do have a number of strong relationships with banks on the other side, where we try to structure financing for you that is, as the best fitting as possible, and particularly to your counterparts on the other side, because they very often appreciate that you have a trading partner and also a local bank, because banks always are the interlink between trade. And then next slide, please. So what we do at I&M Bank, we have obviously the full range of financing services, being it for investments, being it for working capital needs, or for trade finance in the different currencies. And actually for today, I'm diverting a bit of the presentation after I've heard what we've discussed before. I would say there are two main things applicable for agriculture companies, agriculture farmers, agri-processors in the room. So what we do is we do investment financing. So we support the trades into the country. And then the other thing is what we do more for SMEs is we try to get more into data-based lending. As you had in the previous presentations, one big risk factor or the hurdle for access to finance is that we have to assess the creditworthiness. We have to understand the market better. And data plays such a key role in that. And the way we are trying to do this as I&M Bank is, especially for the small companies, we encourage you to start transacting with us, because the moment you are our client and we see your income bank through us, your expenses going through us, we understand you much better. We are collecting data with every transaction you are doing. And based on this transaction flow, we're actually able to assess your creditworthiness even better than by simply just looking at the one-time financial report that you may present. Because being our client means we understand you, we see how you're transacting, we understand your cash flows. This can all support us in getting more data, more information about you. And that helps us to actually get the credit assessment done, which has not been there previously. So these data collections also make it more affordable for us to assess you, even though the loan size might be small. Another thing that Dr. mentioned earlier is that for very often it has not been lucrative or economical for bank basically to look into tiny loans, let's say a few million, because it was simply too expensive to do the whole credit process. So we're really trying to go more into database lending. It starts with our online onboarding process. You can register your company, you can start online banking, etc. Without even coming to the branch. You are able to open accounts, etc. Every data point we're getting helps us with the assessment. And through this, we are trying to make the step towards you. We know there's still like a large spend to do to really be able to do rural smallholder farmers, but I think we're trying to make the stretch more into the smaller entities. Yes, so please feel free, even if you're a small company, approach us, because what we have structured by now in the SME sector is we even give out unsecured loans, up to, if I'm not wrong, up to 5 million, in that range. Thank you, Irene, for nodding. But again, this is not going to be for a first-time applicant that has never been banked with us. We're only able to do that if we know you. So how do we get to know you? If you become our client, if we understand how you're transacting, etc., if we build this relationship, and then we're able to extend such loans to you that you are able to invest in. We've heard irrigation systems earlier, or other small equipment that can help you to increase your productivity, and that hopefully also Kenya can catch up with the other markets around us. Good. And then this is for SMEs. I would like to introduce to you now the other side, where you may be a larger agri-processor and you consider importing equipment from Germany/Europe or even other parts of the world. They're not through me, but through my colleagues. We all know that term loans are quite expensive here. The world markets, the interest rates have been a very strong upward trend. Financing costs are as high as ever. The new financing bill puts extra taxes and levies above our shoulders, which doesn't make it more easier. So what we actually have at I&M Bank, sorry, next slide. Yeah, is we have a special arrangement with the International Finance Corporation, IFC, where we support in particular imports of equipment into the country. So what we try to structure is not straight away a term loan, where we ask you of probably 15% interest rate and above, but we say, okay, let's look at the long-term letter of credit. That means the letter of credit, for those who are not familiar with it, is an instrument for an importer and exporter to get goods into the country. And usually it's a secured trade where the exporter feels confident that you importing the goods will pay on time and that you will receive in return the goods you asked for. So now we as a bank, we plug actually in between to facilitate that. And we're saying you don't have to pay after 90 days or 30 days, but we say you get 2 years until your payment commitment has to come in. So you have 2 years to receive the equipment, to start using it, to already generate some income from it until you have to pay it. Until then, we only charge for the LC charges, which is much, much lower than a term loan. If you see here, we are standing there at, it's 5.5% per annum. Again, shilling loans would currently be 15% and above. Even US dollar loans would be 11% and above. So at least for 2 years, you can save and like ease your cash flow with only that commitment. And then I know some of you, agri-processing really has a very quick return on investment. So that means best case, after those 2 years, you're already able from the revenue you generated to pay off the whole amount. Or at that point in time, we can maybe talk about converting it into the term loan partially or fully or whatever is best for you. So that's an instrument, again, that tries to help you to get access to those machineries, to has at least an eased financing cost for 2 years, and then either paying it off or then starting only the term loan from there forward. This is just the rough term sheet for it. Again, it's cash flow friendly structure to get agri-processing equipment into the market. For instance, we have done this for a company who does avocado oil. So they have imported an avocado oil processing machine from Switzerland through that facility. And they were also able, after those 2 years, the maturity came in, to pay already half of the amount, and only the remaining other half was booked into a term loan. That really supported, just as an example. Again, 270 days, that represents the 2 years. No, it's actually 720 days. I think there's a twist here. Apologies for that. One important thing would be to notice that it's particularly applicable for exporting companies, because what we would always try as a bank is we want to secure you from the currency exchange risk. So if you're not exporting at all, if you don't have any euro or US dollar income, we would really unlikely provide you with a euro or US dollar loan, because just since beginning of the year, the US dollar and the euro have won 20% over the Kenyan shilling. That means whatever you imported or you have to pay off is now all of a sudden 20% more expensive for you. And that's such a big risk that none of you should bear. So that's something also to consider. You want to go into processing, consider export. Yes. And then for the collateral part, we have heard it earlier. So definitely we are trying to go into specific debentures. So taking this particular asset you might import as collateral, but usually it has to be paired with a property that you may have, the piece of land, a personal guarantee from the directors. We know it's not easy to provide all this, but again, we have heard it earlier. For us as a bank, it's very difficult to assess risk when it comes to agriculture. We're trying to make a step towards it. We're trying to understand it even better, but there's still also quite some path to go. And yeah, I think this is actually it. I try to keep it quick, but I'm happy and I'm open for question. Thank you.
Sophie, thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to invite the next presenter who has a very, very short presentation, and then now combine the question time of Christine, of Sophia and Christine together, if that is okay. So again, thank you so much, Sophie, for the wonderful presentation. So we would like to invite Christine, who is going to take us through SDG market building program. Karibu sana, Christine.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Christine John, just as you heard. I'm working with GIZ. I hope I'm audible enough to the online audience. And we are implementing a program by the name, a pilot program by the name, the SDG Market Building. And together with Business Codes for Development, we organized for this event and the other events that have happened earlier on in collaboration with ASNet. So I also want to appreciate the earlier presenters, that is from KBA and also from Sophie, and also everyone who has participated. I also want to acknowledge the collaborations that we've done also with KBA. We supported the online e-learning modules on the sustainable financing in Greentech solutions. And also we supported a few of you to undertake a course in the Frankfurt School of Economics. I guess some of you are present in this meeting, whom of course KBA proposed to us. And we have also had other collaborations with other partners. Currently, we're having talks with KENAF, and we believe by that we'll be able to add value in the agriculture sector. So I'll be very brief. I just want to speak about the SDG market building process, what we do that might be interesting to you. So the SDG market building program has been commissioned by the BMZ, the Ministry of Economic Affairs in Germany. If I'm wrong, Sophie can correct me if, the name of the ministry, but that is the ministry that has commissioned the SDG. And the goal is to achieve a greener economy, resource efficiency, reduction of agricultural loss and hunger, creation of jobs, and yeah, that's it. So what we do in the SDG market program, we provide business development services. I will not dwell on that slide. My focus is on a slide that is coming later, so you can move to the next. This is our focus areas or our target groups. We are targeting medium and large processors, aggregation levels, like unions or cooperatives. So if you are a smallholder, your situation is taken care by working under cooperatives or unions. And then we're also targeting the medium and the large customers or warehouses. Just like the earlier presentation from Dr. Samuel, okay, of course, the more attractive a business is, the more we might also be interested to work with that business. You can move to the next presentation. What are we targeting them on in terms of technologies? After some level of analysis and studies, we decided to support these three technologies, that is irrigation. Of course, someone was speaking of irrigation as a mitigation measure for the climate change. So we find businesses that are adopting irrigation more attractive, and of course, they have high chances of realizing yield and also doing business, because of course we know there's climate change and rains are becoming almost uncertain if we actually not sure if they can support a full production cycle. So that's why irrigation is very key for us. And there's that aspect of yield increase, resource efficiency, and of course, reduction of cost of production. The other technology is post-harvest mechanization. We call it post-harvest mechanization just to summarize all those processes agribusinesses are doing to just do value addition to their products, whether you are doing it at the most basic level or you are doing a sophisticated one. So in this technology, it will differ from value chain to value chain. For example, if you are in crop, it will be different to a person that is in livestock. Same happens to sector. Like for example, someone might be interested in a technology in the in storage, like increasing the shelf life, maybe like cooling. Someone else is maybe interested in a technology of converting the produce maybe to flour. So it will be different from value chain to value chain, sector to sector. So I hope that one is clear. Then the last technology is agrivoltaics. How many have heard of agrivoltaics? at least 20% of us have heard about agrivoltaics. Agrivoltaics is a technology in agriculture that embraces renewable energy, and together with crop production, they are able to be incorporated in the same piece of land. And the aim is to have energy generation at the same time with crop production, where the energy is used as the source of farm energy, and at the same time you can sell that energy for your benefit. So far, this is a new and emerging approach. We have like few people who are interested in this technology. There's a lot of learning that is going on. Currently, we have partners that have done a pilot in Kajiado. Recently, we were having talks with a technology provider called Sun Farming, who are interested in furthering this discussion here in Kenya. We've done a lot of studies as a program about agrivoltaics, and we have a lot of data that is very vital to our partners about the technical modeling of that technology and also the economic modeling part of it. So as far as technologies are concerned, that is the areas where we are targeting now. You may move to the next slide. Now this, I think I would say this is the most important slide because it summarizes what we do. As the SDG market program, I already shared the targeted, let me call them beneficiaries, but what do we target them for? That is a big question. We support projects as a program. Any business that is undertaking any investment project, we support them to implement those technologies. How do we support them? We support them in preparing the investment information so that they plan the investment well, and also we match them with suitable technology providers from European countries or from any other country globally. Yeah. So the other thing that we do, we also do financial linkages, or we support them to access a platform where they can have discussion with potential funders, and then now they can fund that project. That's why these meetings are very crucial for us, because we get to understand the opportunities that are lying in the financial sector, and we also do like a level of introduction to the businesses that we are working with. So we take the projects that we are supporting to a 10-step process, and this process will just involve data collection, understanding what nature of project they are doing, and what is key for us is a bankable project, a business case that is proving that it can generate income. Because now when we come to the place where we are talking to the funders or financial institutions, then it has to be able to prove a case that it can be able to, if it is a loan, it can be repaid from the income generation from that project. So mostly we are happy to work with businesses that are already existing, and they actually have a good credit profile. If it has to go through a place where they have to get funding from financial institution. So we first identify a project. And how do we identify? We either sensitize, like in this meeting, I'll tell you what we are doing and you can approach us, or we use our GIZ networks to advertise about what we are doing, or even referrals by some of the companies whom we are working with. And then someone is able to get in touch with us and ask for our services. When we do that, now we get into gathering information. We do site visits, meetings, identification of the potential of that investment. And of course, we do data collection. And with that, we are able to compile what we call an investment dossier that consists of the current information of the project in terms of technology, that is the technical information, and the prospected or the anticipated project that you want to do. For example, if you are doing processing and currently you are in maybe poultry slaughter and you wanted to expand, we'll do data collection of what you want to expand in terms of the technical issues, the size, the production capacity, those issues, and we summarize them. And then when we do that, we have that information. Of course, this is an internal process of prioritization where we pick a project that is really proving to be, it's actually proving that it is able to continue. We don't say that we are dropping projects if they are not able to continue. No, some of them need some time. Some of them, we also introduce them to other GIZ projects that might be able to support them. Then we go to the stage of feedback, where now we have a meeting with the project, the owners of the project, and give them our feedback. Then we go into simulation, the technical simulation of that project. And with that information, we have our platform we call the Leverage platform, where we post all these opportunities, where any technology provider can get that information, the technical information about that project, and they can get in touch to us or to the company directly, and they can initiate a discussion. And with that, they are able to get a number of them where they are able to select the one that would be attractive to them. We have this step 6, which is very important, where after we get the different offers from several technology providers, we subject them into economic analysis. Like, we understand the cost benefits, the cash flow modeling, we understand the payback period, and the other issues of capital investments that are done to determine the profitability of that business. And now when we are done with that, we do the result presentation to the off-taker, and whichever technology provider they are interested into, we facilitate a matchmaking. And now that's when the process of deal closing starts, when they are now at the stage of matchmaking and discussion, and concluding on finally acquiring the technology. After there, we do follow-ups, and we follow up on the implementation of the same project. And I think that's where now the financial instruments of the financial institutions are very important for us, because some of these capital investments are huge, and we want to understand if there are opportunities that are already available within our local markets, or also with the international markets. Or again, sometimes the technology provider might be having a credit arrangement of which it is rare. It is very rare for so far from the experience that we have had. So that, in summary, is the SDG market building project development process. So if you have a project somewhere and you want free services from us, that is what we do. You can get in touch. Sometimes we also support projects in capital advisory services. You can move to the next slide. Yes, we support them with capital advisory services. Maybe they have not gotten to a point where they have repackaged, they have information, they have good business case, but the problem is how they are packaging information to actually get the attention of the funders. So we sometimes support them with capital advisory services, and then those are the steps we go through until the point of contract negotiation, signing of the contract, and then now final implementation after the funding of the project. The reason why you see in Kenya and Nigeria is because currently we are in Kenya and Nigeria, and we're also in Namibia, but Namibia started recently. But in these two countries is where the SDG market building activities have progressed. Move to the next slide, please. This is just a summary of the process that I've just explained. Starting with identification, business case definition. We cooperate with the Leverage platform. I can share the link of the Leverage platform if you want. If you are a technology provider that is already in the building already, maybe. So that's where local German or international technology providers are able to get these opportunities of these projects. And then now we also have the financial intervention, where now we bring on board financial analysis, financial services, and even financial partners to interact with the projects that we are working with. And at the end, we have a matchmaking between a local business, technology provider, and the financing institutions. Move to the next, please, slide. So these are some of projects that we have already worked on. The first one is about animal protein. The second one is on irrigation solution and cooling solutions. The third one is on it was a semi-automated poultry equipment. We try to be anonymous because, of course, you know, we don't keep exposing the company name until the company is willing to be exposed. We have flower farms that we are working with, and many other technologies that we are already working with. And for your information, the greener the technology, the more we are interested to work with you. So all these companies are looking for solutions that are using renewable energy to implement. And I think that's it. If you want to get in touch with myself, then you can reach the others later. Yeah, thank you so much for your audience.
So much. Just stand there, please. So please let us appreciate again Christine with her wonderful presentation. So earlier on, I had said that Christine was going to give a short presentation, but remember we are here because of GIZ. So this is their home and they are allowed to extend a bit. So we are now getting to that point of the Q&A, and we have Sophie. I have a question for you, Sophie, before we get on to the online, and then, we can all be comfortable to answer. So, Sophie, just want to understand I&M Bank. Apart from Kenya, which other countries are you supporting with the program that you have just presented?
And thank you for the question. So Kenya is our main market, but we also represent in Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania. And we do have an affiliate in Mauritius. But especially, I would say in Kenya as well as in Rwanda, we are one of the largest banks. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So how about we do it the other way around? Since we had given the House the opportunity to ask questions, shall we now start with the online, if anyone has a question for GIZ, Christine, and Sophie, I&M Bank, please, it's your turn to go. Do we have any questions, Winnie, from where you sit? Our online participants? Hello, are we awake?
Yes, we are, and we have set questions on the chat. Maybe we
Great, fantastic. Please go ahead. Sorry? And as you ask the question, kindly, we have GIZ and we have I&M Bank, Sophie I&M Bank and Christine GIZ. Kindly indicate to whom you're addressing your question, please. And is that I&M or is it GIZ?
So maybe I can take that one.
Thank you.
So agriculture in West Africa. So unfortunately, I&M Bank is not yet in West Africa, but I do have colleagues who also run a German desk in West Africa, but that will be a different bank. It's called Access Bank, where they do Ghana, Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Senegal, the Gambia, and many, many more. So if interest is there, I'm happy to make an introduction to my colleagues who are in a similar role at a different bank in West Africa.
I think for ourselves, we are not in Ghana. And I'm not saying yet because I don't think there's that plan to go to Ghana, but we have our presence in Nigeria currently. Thank you. So thank you for that question. We are working with any project that is anywhere in Kenya. So we are not limited to any physical location in Kenya. wherever you are, whether you are in Northeastern, whether you are in Coast, whether you are in Eastern. I'm the staff of the project, but we are working with other colleagues that are based in Germany, but I'm able to travel anywhere to support you. Okay, currently we do not, I want to understand the capacity building opportunities are like trainings and other issues, but we don't, currently we have not been doing capacity building. We've just been supporting business development only. But if there is that need to incorporate capacity building, then we can include it, because we are still at pilot stage and we are getting a lot of learnings from what we've done before and what partners maybe may recommend. The capacity buildings that we've done is for our partners with the KBA, where we facilitated the e-learning modules. I know most of you who are in banking sector have interacted with it, and the Frankfurt School of Economics. But for the business part of it, the off-takers, we have not done that one yet, but it can be considered maybe in the next planning. Okay, for SDG, you can get in touch through my email, which I can share it on the chat. You can get in touch through that email. Then we can start the discussion from there.
Yeah, similar for I&M Bank. I've shared my contact details at the end of the presentation. You can just reach out and then we can discuss how we can support you with account setup and how we can support you to facilitate your transactions.
Okay.
Hello, James from Almasi. We deal with exports, primarily hubs for now. The biggest issue we've been having is patient finance. By the time you're getting your crop into season and the trade facilitation you'll be looking for from the bank, do you guys have any program that will help with that? So that by the time I have an off-taker that is coming in, I'm able to handle that, as well as by the time I'm looking at market linkages, because you know you've been you know the process of getting an off-taker certification, process house. There's a lot that happens there, but if I don't have patient capital, then it all gets lost. Yeah.
So what we do is that we can facilitate bridge financing. What you would need to show the bank to get the comfort is probably your off-tail agreement. So if you're able to secure sale agreements, even if you say they're not yet signed, but they will be signed once we get the financing in place, this can help us, because if what we always try to understand is we call it cash conversion cycle. So from the time you do the expenses until you get it back, how big is the gap? Like cash-wise, but then also lengthwise. And the comfort comes from there's a pre-agreed sale that is going to take place, best even in terms of quantities and also the price.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam from Zalika Greentech. I have a question specifically niched to SDG and specifically in the section for agrovoltaics. I'm interested in two things. There was the CO2 production and crop protection. What we do is we come up with we do smart monitoring and early warning systems. We've measured, especially so far in forests. So I wanted to know what extent you go with CO2 reduction, because what we just launched was early warning systems for forest fires using AI. So does it come in secondarily, or you just need CO2 production from crops specifically?
Okay, from what I gathered from our partners in Kajiado, they have installed equipment that are able to automatically update them. For example, where there's in fluctuation of the humidity or the water is low for the crop, there's a way they can get a warning and then they are able to correct that. So yes, it is true. We can integrate, we call it like IoT with the agrivoltaic system. Yeah, but also it will depend if that partner wants to have it incorporated in the system.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we'll get in
You
touch
can get
more.
in touch also.
Yeah.
Sure.
Could I be allowed to ask directly instead of putting in the chat kindly?
Did we get someone from?
Can I
Oh,
go
okay.
ahead, please?
Yeah,
Thank
please
you.
go.
My name is Bernard Obuge, Secretary General of the Kenya Small Scale Farmers Forum. And what you have presented, the three of you, is very pertinent with the small scale holder. And the small scale holder plays a very big role. I want to narrow down to irrigation, which you have talked very well, and the technologies involved. A further question would be that are we able, the financing model, can it also finance the water storage for smallholders, like runoff water that can be stored for farmers to use so that production is continuous? Thank you.
Yeah, I know that question is starting on irrigation, but again, it is somehow redirected to our financing partners. Do we have financing models around the irrigation technology? Maybe any of the bank? Munyambu, you have anything to say?
I see being your friend is a risk, but it's okay. My name is Munyambu from Absa Bank, and I do see that question about irrigation is coming up in multiple conversations. And when the good doctor was here, mentioned that one of the risks as financial institutions we see is the vagaries of weather and the rain being unpredictable. Right now, we were expecting El Nino. I don't know whether the expectations have changed. And that's a risk for us as financiers. So what we look for is predictability, and how you can get that predictability is through irrigation. Now, when you're speaking about smallholder farmers, they may not be able to set up dams like Arol and Kimwarel, but there are things that they're able to do, like rainwater harvesting or storing water when they can. And we work with partners, input providers who provide irrigation equipments, and we do support our farmers to be able to do that. Because once we're able to support you with your irrigation, we're able to create some predictability within your cash flow systems. If there is predictability within cash flow systems, it means that we're able to extend credit to you and ensure that we empower you to have some revenues. So at ABSA, we're happy to have that conversation individually. Thanks.
Thank you. So you can get in touch with ABSA. Do we have any other bank maybe that want to respond? Okay. Mm-hmm.
So being a grower and exporter, one of the biggest challenges we have is that you want to support the smallholder, but then you find that because the cost of production is heavy, there has been discussions that other key players would be happy to work with the banks so that the risk taker becomes the bank to support the smallholder, and those key players are financial institutions. But what we have heard from the grapevine is that the banks do not want to take that risk. We don't know why. And if a bigger financial institution wants to work with the banks, and especially now that the banks are all in this together, how can you really support the smallholder? Thank you.
Okay.
I'm checking my time. Good afternoon. Just an extra to that one is Sophie has given a very good example of how they're supporting medium to large in terms of LCs and trade financing, international trade financing for processors. But we forget that for you to become a processor, the farmer has to have already have worked. So the farmer bears the largest cost and risk, but is being given the least consideration in terms of his interest for him to run effectively. So question to the bankers and bankers related parties is, can there be a reconsideration of how to finance the farmer? Because if the farmer is guaranteed of production, anything else along the supply chain post that is literally taken care of. So for example, you've said you've given 2 years moratorium for the agri-processor. Are you able to come with a flexible plan or model that will support the farmer in regards to how he or she have farms? For example, there's an early land preparation cost, there's 6 months of planning, of planting, 9 months, at month 9 is when they are able to get any substantial income. Between 0 to 9 is literally cost incurring. And are we able as well to factor in seasonality so that then we know they do not necessarily have to pay on a monthly basis, but we know their season hits at another 6 months, then we're able to buffer them with a moratorium on the low, but then hit it high during the production. So at the end of the day, when we say it's a supply chain, then all the supply chain players are actually benefiting from the core person being the farmer.
Yeah, at this point, I'll ask my fellow bankers to stand, but but I'll take a few questions, and they are very relevant. I want to reintroduce myself. I'm a farmer who works in a bank. That's my starting point. So at the bank, I'm a specialist because it's easier to train farmers to be bankers than to train bankers to be farmers. That's a good starting point. So let's also ask ourselves, who is a bank? It's a commercial entity, right? So they take deposits from yourselves and lend to those that want, with a promise that they will not lose those deposits. That's a starting point. The second starting point is that they have people called shareholders who have an expectation of a return. So we've understood who a bank is from that perspective. So they're there to provide financial flows. And for us in Agric, we are not any different from any other sector of the industry. So for them, they'll look at where is their least risk. Are we the ones with the least risk? Are we the ones with the least risk? No. So because we are not the ones with the least risk, what do? We go to the big boys, as you said, that are able to help us de-risk. Who? The smallholder farmer. Okay? But then these big boys tell us, also don't lose our money. There's something called a moral hazard. The moment our farmers know that these funds came from GIZ, came from IFC, came from government, they say, hata nisipolipa, sio pesa yenu, senior GIZ. So that has been a risk that those institutions have been telling us, be very careful to not move away from your lending criteria. Does it mean that with those risks, we are not going to finance the space? No. In every market, you will always find the cream that comes to the top. And that's what tends to get the credit. Because remember, we are competing with the needs of other industries. So how do we finance it? Coming to your question. I'll speak for ABSA. We don't have any fixed solutions. What's your journey? I'll give you an example.
In Western Kenya, we do finance potato farmers. And they supply to Kenya Seed. We give them inputs. We give them money to go pay for tractors to prepare their lands. And we wait for the whole 6 months until they are paid. The risks are there, right? The crop would fail. That's why the lady who spoke about insurance is part of this conversation. Spoke about helping farmers, right? For us, we speak about empowering them. How can we make them bankable? How can we supply the value chain? So we do work with them. We'll do a step further. The gentleman spoke about the 3 sons. I want to speak about sons and daughters because the law requires that we treat all of them equally even when we are sharing our land. It is no longer economical for them to mechanize. So would I advance a tractor to one of them? The numbers will not add up. But we work with people like Hello Tractor. We empower them to have tractors that can work as Uber tractors. So you just hire it as a service to do the growing. See how we are working together on that. But the concept is working together. So if we have here the financial institutions and we expect ourselves as a farmer, remember I'm a farmer first, to be able to solve all our problems, is it going to work? No. So, and that's why I'm really happy for these conversations because they empower, they pass informations to where it is. So the approach that we've taken is 3-way. The biggest challenge you'd find with farmers may actually not be financing. Is access to the right information. Knowing when, where, and how. Right information. Which crop, right seeds. Is access to coaching and mentorship. Yeah? You are about to go to export. Do you know the regulations? Do you know what you need to do? You want to grow, what are we calling these? I forget the name, but they're black something, or remember. Have you seen other people do it? How have they been able to do it very effectively? That's coaching and mentorship. More importantly is access to markets for your product. Why is that important? If you grow your very good product and you don't have a market for it, will you have the cash flow to pay the bank? No. Access to markets. If you're able to provide those ones, then you have access to sustainable finance. So I want to give this one to my colleague here from NCBA to pick the hard questions. But banks will not finance agriculture. Let's be honest with ourselves. Banks will finance agribusiness. If you're doing agriculture as a hobby, you not have financial flows coming to you. But if you're doing agriculture with a commercial mindset, financial flows will come to you. But allow Richard to be able to pick any other questions that will come. Thanks.
Sorry, I think I missed the question. Could somebody please repeat?
I think it's very clear from what he has said. It's very demoralizing, yeah? That we've come in and we are trying to see whether we can understand where we are going. But the takeaway is that information is key. So he has given us the recipe for the information. That, for the first time, I'm hearing that the farmer, who is the backbone of what we do, the banks are only going to empower the farmer with the information. So that is not what I was expecting, but so I think let's save your colleague because you've already answered it. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, thank you so much.
We have Equity Bank online, that is Pauline Irongo, and she says, to answer the question on irrigation financing for smallholder farmers, I can confirm that at Equity Bank, Food and Agriculture Department, we do have solutions for smallholder farmers cutting across from water harvesting, drip irrigation, borehole drilling, and many others. I appreciate taking this discussion forward. That is from Equity Bank. And we have a comment from Joseph Getege. Would the speaker who has given an example with Western Kenya apply the same for the establishment of avocado orchard with avocado farmers and wait till maturity? Back to you.
I think you have a challenge. Let's give the mic to you.
Yes, that's a very good question because it speaks to a cropped tree. A cropped tree will not grow in a short season of 3-6 months. It will take more than that period. And the simple answer is yes. Have we done it in the past? Yes. Have we been patient to it up to the third year? Yes, we have. And up to fifth year when we get our prime harvesting going on. So these solutions do exist. They do exist, and it's about looking at it from a commercial mindset. If the financial model will showcase that there are revenues that will be generated, financial flows will follow, and they're there. Oh, and not to dishearten you, we still do a lot of financing. The point is, we need to know how to obtain that finance. Thanks. Another very good question is on a working capital financing. So I'll read it as it is. Is there LPO financing for farmers for short season crops? Is there LPO financing for farmers for short season crops? Yes, we do provide working capital loans. We may not call them LPO financing. We call them short-term loans. LPO perhaps is when you already have a purchase order. Sometimes you're growing and you don't have that purchase order. It could be crops, it could be livestock. Think of a poultry farmer who needs to buy animal feeds, right? And they don't have a market for their eggs, so they have no LPO. Will we be able to provide them with short-term loans to facilitate that? The simple answer is yes. So what would be the conditions of lending? Would there be collateral attached to it? Simple answer, collaterals never pay loans. It's cash flows that pay loans. So if you're able to demonstrate that the cash flows will be there, it is possible to get that financing. And remember when you spoke about the big boys, we will have some sort of guarantees provided. For our case, I can tell you we have AGF cover for us that will cover us not 100%, but about 50% of it. And that's how we're able to participate on the smallholder space. Happy to take another question, even if you're not happy with my answers. But there will be truth. I'm an honest man. Somebody is looking for my contacts. That's a good one.
Then thank you. A quick one. This country, we have got more young men than the aged. Is any of the banks having special programs to support the youth in the enterprises in agriculture, particularly value addition? Thank you.
In particular, the value addition. Yeah. So there are special interest groups that we take great support with, especially on access to information. If they know there's money in agri, they'll come. Access to markets, access to coaching and mentorship. That's the bigger problem when we have with youths, women, and people living with disabilities. If you come to ABSA, we have preferential solutions for them. Where a normal business would have required to be 3 years old, for them with 3 years, we're able to take a call on them. We are able to guide them, which is more important for them to be able to get into that space. So speaking on behalf of ABSA, that is very, very possible. Thanks. Okay, so we can take this question and then we have I&M also.
What we try to do at I&M Bank through our foundation, actually, we are supporting youth and also youth in agriculture. We're trying to combine that with programs with technical assistance, but that is particularly from our I&M foundation, not necessarily from a credit point of view, but we try to like get into their, let's say, vocational training early and try to contribute in that regards.
Good. So I&M confirms that they do. Just to confirm on access to markets, we do it both locally and internationally. Next week, there is an event in Netherlands for fruits and veggies. We'll have 10 of our customers attend.
So thanks. Mine is on SDG. Christine. Yes. Couple of questions. One, you had quite an elaborate program about 10 steps. And I'm wondering, typically, what is your turnaround time? That's an interesting one for us. The second one is your ticket size. You never discussed about your ticket size. It would be interesting for us to know up to what value can you be able to finance. Then it's from experience, participating in similar projects, is the unwritten regulations are the same. Because two of the programs I've participated of the similar nature is that if you are doing exports, you must be having a partnering institution in the other country. So please come out clearly if there is any unwritten or unspoken regulation on that. And I think those are my questions on that. But still, I'm not satisfied with the insurance. I'm not satisfied with insurance. The people who are discussing about insurance, the whole element of product for a particular value chain. I find most of the insurance programs we have are quite blanket. General insurance against fire, against burglary. But when you go to dynamics of diseases, when you go to the dynamics of income loss, they are not there. And we are, as in agriculture, you're not looking for a generic insurance product. You're looking for something that matches the potential risk profile in a particular sector. So thanks a lot.
So there's one question for I&M from online, and we shall give it to Winnie.
Yeah, this question is for Sophie, and it's from Jane Gichuho. I've just registered my farm. Where do I begin with both GIZ and I&M Bank programs to assist in making the most out of my idea to a viable, marketable product?
Okay, that's clear.
for both
So
of
I
you.
will start with answering the question from my friend there. Then Sophie will take a question. About the turnaround time, it's around 8 months, 8 months all the way even to 2 years. Yeah, because those are capital investments. It takes time to find the technology providers. It takes time for negotiations, even to prepare to capital raise or to fundraise for that investment. So it is that long, and that's why we actually expose the process to the anticipated off-taker for them to be, for it to be clear to them. Ticket size, initially we were targeting 100,000 euros, but we were learning from a program that is doing renewable energy using the same process, but we realized that was a bit of ambitious for agriculture sector, and we reduced our ticket size to almost to 20,000 euros. And again, sometimes we also consider the farm holding sizes from 5 hectares and above when it comes to investment. About regulations, we are a bit lenient as a program, and that's why the technology providers don't have to come from Europe. Even a local technology provider can be matched to a business that wants that technology. Yeah, we do not have other regulations in our program. Yeah.
Thank you. So I would like to touch on 2 points. First of all, for the newly registered farm company, and then to the market access one more time. So for a newly registered company, be it agriculture or any other company, the so-called will always have difficulties to find financial support from a commercial bank. Like it's again one of the risk applications. To have to be assessed with your credit worthiness. But those 3 years are really crucial. I'm happy to hear that Upstart needs only 2 years, but only if you come from female or from youth. So I'm sorry for the male fresh entrepreneurs here. But I think starting somewhere is very crucial. And I guess especially if you can pair it with support programs from GIZ, then it can even build you a bit stronger. In terms of market access, that has been also touched by my good colleague from Absa Bank. It's not my program, but I feel maybe the business scouts from GIZ can support here. There's something called Import Promotion Desk from the German government, where Kenya is one of the participating countries where they particularly search for pure Kenyan shareholder-owned companies who are already doing exports or are interested in starting exports to the German/European market. And they help them to, first of all, get the right certification in place. They start with information, what we learned is the most crucial step. Then they help you with certification. They also support in matchmaking. That means they bring you to European agriculture fairs where you are able to do networking, maybe present your products. So this might be a very interesting program for you to first of all get information and get market access. It's called Import Promotion Desk, and I'm sure GIZ can support you with connections.
So in case you are interested to be introduced with the IPD or the Import Promotion Desk, you can get in touch with me. My colleague Eda is the one that is doing that in our project, but I can also facilitate that. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. We have more questions. We have a question from Philip in Naivasha, and he says, I've been working with small-scale flower farmers in Nyandarua, Kinangop area, and main challenge is getting certified and marketable varieties. Any solutions on funding the payment for royalty to breeders? So that means it's an open question to, anyone can answer. Then the other question is from Bernard Wabuge. Since finances are given to variation, can cotton industry be financed?
The people with money.
It's not cotton, it's cottage, yeah? Cottage industry.
It's cottage industry.
Yeah, for value addition.
Cotton.
Yes.
So NCBA, Absa Bank, I&M, Absa.
So the first question was around loyalties, right? Simple answer is yes. I would just want to understand which value chain that is. I am tempted to believe it's flowers, but I don't think we meant flowers. But yes, we do finance for loyalties as part of capital expenditure. Okay. So the wrong question, the answer is yes. We do finance the cotton value chain. I'm answering the wrong question first. Then I'll answer the right question. We do finance the cotton value chain, both at post-production and at input level because there is offtake for that. That was on the wrong question. On the right question of cottage industries, and I think here I will be speaking for the majority. That is a sweet spot financing for commercial banks in Kenya because it's already post-harvest. I would encourage them to speak to us. I'll be happy to support with us with that. Thanks.
Want to pass the microphone to Henry, or you have the microphone already to usher us to the next program. And thank you, financial institutions, for coming in and answering some of the concerns and questions that came forth during our presentation.
Okay.
Thank you. Please
Okay,
clap
thank
for
you.
us.
Give them a better clap. Okay, thank you, our presenters. I think the time has really moved, but still okay because we are running quite a lot. Now we are going to the final session, not the final, but almost the final major event. And here we'll have a breakaway session. A breakaway session. We had anticipated to have like 40 minutes, but we are going to make it shorter because of the time. Now, we'll have 3 groups. The third group is very specific, and this is the Christine's team. It will deal with the question on lessons learned from is it Frankfurt or Frankfurt School of Economics about agri-financing. This is very specific. People who attended the course, are they in the room, and can they maybe raise their hands? We see them. The banks who attended. So we have 1. And Lona. Okay, so you'll be the 3 of you. Okay, now the other two groups, group 1 will deal with the question on bottlenecks in getting funding or loans for capital investments in agribusiness. That's group 1. Then we have group 2. What are the expectations of funders from borrowers in agri-lending? Now, maybe how we do with it, other than the people dealing with the third question, maybe we can do 1, 2, 1, 2. Those who will pick number 1 will deal with the question 1. Those who will pick number 2 will go to the question 2. Okay, and we are only going to do it within this room. Maybe we can have one side dealing with question 1 and another side dealing with question 2. The other 3, they'll decide where to meet. Maybe they can meet outside there. So I'll start with you. You stay 1. 1. 2. 1. We start there. 2. 2. Madam. Oh, you and the other one? 1. 2. So maybe once we move to the groups, you'll have your, maybe somebody will select somebody to lead the team and also to do some notes. Then after the breakaway, then we'll have the teams doing the presentations. Okay, the online team, you are at liberty to join either of the group. I think Winnie is organizing you, which yeah, Winnie will guide you on which questions to join. You are free to join whichever question you want to join. So we give ourselves how many minutes? 20? 20? What's the time now? Yeah. Yeah. So 20 is okay. In agreement? Yeah, okay, fine. So we are through by 1:10. Okay. Okay. So you can select your group leader. Maybe you can do if you have a laptop, you can do like a presentation mode so that we can also do the questions can be put on the screen, or rather your responses can be done on the screens. So we start now. Okay, karibuni sana. So you and Christine, you know, you can even at least you are not. Yeah. you are number one that used to.
Question ya group one, ya group one,
The first question.
These are in the group two.
The
second
second
one.
question. Then I'll check how many bankers are there. Maybe what I'll do, I'll shift some bankers. Once you settle, I can move. So this is question number one. Number one. Number one is here. Number two, maybe you could have gone a little bit further. Maybe you could have gone a little bit further. Number two, they are setting themselves here. They come to you. You're through. Oh, Winnie at Asli. Oh, Konai. I want you to say it. I want you to say that to Winnie.
You've taken my contact?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I am on demand.
Yeah. The first skills person, I don't know where he has gone. For presentation.
We have stolen lunchtime.
Yeah. This exercise is starting between us. Dinners and lunch. I've told them to email you. Oh, but you should be emailing to the other person.
What? No, they can email me a report to you.
His email is true.
You know, they can email to me so that we have it. You know what?
Sawa. Utaniambia ukipata zote.
Gapi?
The three groups.
What do you need? The what?
You know, they need projects to present.
Oh, the groups.
Yes. So there are three. You have shared?
Yeah, it's right there.
So you have sent. It has left. Okay.
Be careful. Then you yeah, sure. 18 to 40. You're welcome.
Yes, it's too much to that team. You load your contacts. Meandika. Okay.
Yeah, that happens if you're a good borrower.
Online people are asking contacts, so you can put for INM.
My contact.
Yeah, or whichever contact it is. We want to share online with the online team. Now you should go through it. Yeah. The others are through. Yeah. You have sent. You have sent to Winnie. Yeah. Na reports kesho. Na by tomorrow report. So we start with group 3. You managed to share. You have shared. Umeandika? Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello. Hello. We come back to our meeting. Hello. I'm calling to order so that we finalize this bit. I think now all the teams have finished. I hope you have all sent your points to Winnie. Have you sent to Winnie? Winnie hasn't received. Winnie, they confirm they have sent. Imeshatoka. Have you sent? You have one for group? Lolin? Yeah. So yours, has it gone out? Christine, you have managed. You have managed to say yes. No, she's talking of Rolin. Rolin is it? Oh. Group 2, group 3. Group 3 umepata? Christine, group 3 not yet. Hi, has it gone out?
From Christine.
From Christine. Has it gone out there? No, she hasn't received.
Winnie.
Na huyu jamaa ako wapi? Na huyu jamaa ako? Hayuko? This guy projecting for us. Okay, let me go. Where is he? Online people na want to contact you. Oh, so
Ninaambua nimewa disheartened.
they want
They want money immediately.
they want to contact you. Ako wapi?
He's coming.
There?
You can just start off with one presentation. They've made presentation on slide.
Yeah, that's right.
One can start off as he comes. Sign. Participant.
Yes, I
Or you sign both. That talk there.
These are the ones you share with the contacts for the banks. When
Online.
Mm.
Janet. Maybe you sign for group 1.
hii jamaa iko wapi? Ama alienda lunch?
Anakuja, kuna wageni wengine na sauti anakuja.
Hazikuji. Kwa hizi vitu zinaenda wapi?
Nimekuja mbili sasa.
Ya nani?
Ya Christine.
Hii group bado. So group 1 not yet. Yenu bado. It still hasn't gone out.
No, it has. It has.
Yes, Winnie is saying otherwise. Ama ulituma which email? Yeah, iko sent. Yes, Winnie has sent you. We want you to project for group 3. This one. She has sent me the appendix. Yes, Winnie has sent you. So I want you to project the one. Yes. Okay. She's. Hello. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. So we want to start a presentation for each group. And we are giving to Irene to start for group 3. So Eileen, yeah. Vipata. Yes, can be proceeding.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It was just a recap of maybe some points that we picked from the, what are the group 3. She's projected the wrong question, but it was majorly some of the lessons that we picked from the course. I got the wrong one. So, from Christine. It's okay, I can read from there. Go ahead. Read the question I read it for them. It's lessons learned from the Frankfurt School of Economics about agri-lending, which will make the lending approach different. So maybe just to look at our space, like when you look at the Kenyan space, some of the things we could pick out is the way you could have wrong structuring of loan because of inadequate expertise about agriculture in our various commercial banks, in the sense that it's not all banks that have an agri-lending section. So what ends up happening when you approach that bank, they'll just try and offer what they have. In terms of, if it's a typical term loan, they will not look at what is your cycle and how should it be structured. Like, for example, you'd have in the agri space, you'd have maybe the gestation period for, somebody spoke about avocado. And if you're expected to start paying your facility within the first year and your crop is still in the farm, it means typically you still don't have the inflows to start paying the bank. So you'd realize this is a client who'd end up, quote unquote, appearing as a defaulter, but it's more of the facility not being structured correctly. So maybe that would be one of the takeaways that we picked, because we could, from interactions with our colleagues with the various banks, they could actually confess that for them, it's an from the shelf type of facility, and it's structured as a usual term loan. So definitely that customer would struggle at some point. And then in line with that also is the way, as most of our local banks, we are typical on having your monthly repayments. So we can have a situation whereby you'd be given a moratorium on your principal, but there's no moratorium on your interest, because most of us don't accept that. But maybe it's about time we look at how best can we structure that facility to accommodate, allow me to say, the moratorium on the interest, so that you're not pressurized, because assuming it's a mega type of facility, then high chances you're purely reliant on your inflows to start paying. But how can we try to maybe typically cushion the bank and also make sure this person in agribusiness benefits from that? We always try and look at how comes looking at the journey end to end. What is this person aiming at? Do they have a market? So if they have a market, is there a contract? Can this contract be assigned, collections to be received through the bank that is willing to fund? So when you look at it backwards, then you can be able to propose to structure the facility in a way that the bank does not lose, and also the customer would be able to benefit. Something else that we picked is lack of proper linkages with some of the DFIs that are able to give funding to our farmers. Like, for example, there are cases where we get that the DFIs are willing to maybe fund the plant. For example, let's look at avocado processing. So you have somebody who's willing to give quote unquote cheaper funding as compared to the interest rates would be better as compared to our local interest rates, but they would purely fund the plant to crush the avocado. They are specific, or rather they are not keen on funding the working capital for that business. So you find the person in agribusiness who's able to crush the avocados, they can, yes, get fruits from their farmers, but they're not able to pay these farmers upfront since they don't have working capital. So in such a case, they would end up getting stuck much as they have a confirmed contract in terms of the off-takers. So we were just looking at it in the sense that maybe as local banks, we could try and have proper linkages with some of these DFIs so that both of us look at it as an end-to-end journey. So, because you see, in such cases where we have somebody who's been funded has funding for the plant and they don't have working capital, high chances they'll start being defaulters. But ideally, these are not people who are defaulters. It's just because the financial support has not been right. And then something else that we picked is that there's also an opportunity for us to capitalize on the digital space, so that if maybe we could have proper systems where we can do some of this lending through the digital space and not necessarily by physically having to, go to where the farmers are, then maybe the admin cost in agri-lending would reduce. That also speaks to, in terms of the moral hazard, because a lot would be expected in terms of analyzing that specific borrower to get to know how their credit scores would look at and whether they would be able to repay back the facility. I think we just tried to sum it up like that, unless there are other queries or contribution from the floor, contribution from our other colleagues in the financial space. Yeah. Or actually contribution from farmers, if we have any. Let's pick it up again for the DFI.
I'm speaking to credit guarantees. We have seen some guarantee offerings where they say the offland, the lender, the borrower in this case will be a smallholder farmer or any other farmer, needing to have a trading license or to be registered. But most of our farmers are not registered. It's not a requirement for them to get registered. How can that gap be breached between the situation on the ground and what these DFIs do look for?
And this is my own thinking, not that it's from the school, but I'm just imagining, what about having these farmers registered maybe under one SACCO, and then the DFIs can have its linkage through that SACCO? Because yes, for some, like, let's look at the dairy farmers. If they could be registered through a SACCO, and then now through that we are able to have the partnership, it could help. My thinking, yeah.
Okay, any other question for her? If not, we can give her an applause, give her a clap. Okay, thank you. Then we can have group one. Group one, do the projection.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wanjiko DK of Kipepeo Green Heritage, and I'm going to be presenting on behalf of Group 1. Our question covers bottlenecks in getting funding or the loans for capital investment in agribusiness. So we came up with a couple of points. Number one is banks that is banks and other money lenders, they usually go after history. History in terms of, do you have a bank statement? Then among us, we have the youngest farmer. She farms pigs. Where do you expect she's going to get a bank history, honestly speaking? What were ABSA? You need to think about us. What happens to, all SMEs, mimi ndio nataka kuingia into farming. What happens? How are you going to support me from zero now going upwards? Can we have that conversation? I&M has left. I have that question too. I want to be able to export to a market in Germany. How do you empower me? How do you enable me from zero going up? We have ideas, but we do not have the funding for it. Then there's the point of banks go after, they don't accommodate the idea of risks and security. That's about owning or leasing farms. Where do you expect I'm going to own even 1 acre of land? I'm just from university. So I've been given this acreage by my mother, but if I'm going to take a loan, she will not sign me into that loan. Tafadhalini, you also need to come back again and consider the rest of us. And also there are women who are under lands owned by their husbands. So before you do investment on that land, what happens? Lazima tuite mzee akuja tusainie. Think about that. There's also the point of experience in terms of repayments. We are just starting off. Of course, I love the fact that somewhere there's leeway for about 2 years, but that was under I&M. ABSA, you are here to convince me on that one. Equity, we will discuss. Then there's the challenges of climatic challenges. Droughts are hitting Kenya, left, right, and center. Floods started, the people who farmed in Marsabit, all their crops have been destroyed. We've seen goats being carried away. How do you consider such persons, such farmers on the ground? Then we also have the number 5, the climatic changes. That covers the need for water and water harvesting. Like right now, we should be championing the idea of water ponds. Do farmers on the ground have the idea? Do they even know we can harvest the rainwater that how much water is just disappearing now that the floods have started? Then come January, we are begging for food. That doesn't make sense at all. We have the smallholder farmers, no data profiling. Like, how do we know how many farmers in Nyandarua are doing like goat farming or farming strawberries? There's a project that's happening right now funded by the World Bank. That's in Narok, Bomet. Kajiado is yet to start, but it's in about 12 counties. And literally, okay, just because it's funded by World Bank, they're going farm to farm to see what the farmer is doing. But what happens to farmers in these other worlds? How does our government and all these partners who come on board get to know how many farmers are doing 1, 2, 3 and how they can get supported? Initially, back in the day, I'm told there were extension officers, but what are those people doing? Do they even know that you exist as a farmer farming goats or whatever trees you've decided to plant? Data needs to be collected and kept so that support systems can be easy to roll down. Then there's lack of information for farmers, especially on where to access these facilities. Of course, the first assumption is family, amateur investment. Before we even think of going to banks, we assume that banks are going to be very challenging. Of course, we are in a posh place. We are understanding the idea of getting loans from the banks. Of course, I hate it, but yeah. Does the mwananchi on the ground understand that concept, that they can go to a bank or they can get a grant, they can go online and apply for support in farming rabbits and stuff like that, or getting tractors? Like we're told you can be funded to get tractors for that purpose. Record keeping, that is documentation, registration, marketing. How many farmers on the ground know they need to register their business entity in farming? Most of our mothers will just farm maize for the sake of farming maize, then kesho wauzie neighbor, and supply goes on and goes on. But just me and you here understand that. So how can this education be rolled down to the mwananchi on the ground? Access to grants and how to access such alternatives to financing, that is equity and shareholding. We have a member from Unitas. Personally, I happen to join Unitas because of my mother who has shares, blah, 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 blah. But how many have that leverage? How many have that information? How many know they can access support and all that from different entities? How to package information for this and commit to be technologically adept. Like for us who are in tree planting, we have the narrative that's going around carbon financing, carbon trading. How many know what it entails? How many know how to go about it? How many know how even the returns are rolling out? We are here, but if I'm to ask that question, very few people are going to respond to it. So we need to be able to understand and to be able to take down the information, because like getting carbon trading returns, there are people who started earning in Kenya from as far back as 2017. We're in 2023, and this is when we are hearing this on news. We have a lot of assignments to take on and to share. How to know about growth areas and opportunities. How does one play in this space? Yeah, it goes back to the same position. Personally, I will go tell my mother, I will go tell an auntie or a friend, but how does information get diversified to mwananchi on the ground? How will they know that you can value add on bananas to make wine and to make crisps? How will they know that cassava can bring us chips and something else, or even flour? We have to think of how to diversify this outside to them. Then the idea of seasonal crops, perishability, like for coffee and tea, I mean, even flowers, dania, vegetables and all. How can we get support for this? Thank you. Any questions? No question? Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Group One.
Maybe as a member of that group, an addition.
And we have online Bernard or Janet.
Yeah,
Janet
I want,
online.
Bernard, I just wanted to add on something small for group one, which we were doing all the photos. And I just add that there's also a good opportunity. If we get together, we can access funding for our activities. That is one of the best about what we had. Thank you. But all this she has said is what we.
Bernard Atukuski.
I was just adding, because the presenter has been from group one, those of us who are online are saying that besides what he has said, another opportunity for us is to improve or try to work in a bigger scale so that we can access opportunities and access funding for our businesses, both in production and the value addition.
You're through,
the answer.
No, we are really not. We are struggling to listen to you.
Oh,
so we have not gotten it very clearly.
Let me forward.
Yeah, you can forward in the chat.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, so thank you, Group One. Now we can go to Group 3. You can project for us, please. Group 2, sorry.
Hello, everyone. I am Sam from Group 2. And our question was, what are the expectations of funders from borrowers in agri-lending as projected? Our previous presenter has taken a good role in, she actually took the persona of somebody who is in agribusiness, and you could feel the bottlenecks. So this one more of comes from the banking side. and I'll try as much as possible to take the persona of the banking industry. Number one is the expectations. Number one is audited accounts, at least 3 years, and management accounts. Definitely, this is for accuracy and to assist in decision making, majorly. Then we have aged debtors and creditors. These are people who you have not paid yet or who have not paid you yet. Then the cash flow statements, I think that's well taken care of. The bank and M-Pesa statements. Nowadays, the M-Pesa limit per day is at 500,000. So definitely it's a key instrumentation in terms of banking statements. We have the business model and growth plans. Definitely this is to help aid to know whether at the end of the day it will be a negative or positive. And also the growth plans to ensure that whatever you're trying to prove to be bankable, to prove that it's actually scalable. Then we also have the market for products of key off-takers for the product. I don't think there is any banking industry that is ready to put money into a place whereby at the end of the day, you're going to make a loss, not because you lost it in the farm, but because you have nowhere to take it, or you're gonna take it to the market and have it hitting on a bad season. For instance, if you do tomatoes or vegetables in December, January, Feb is a good market because it's dry. But the inverse, when it's rainy, the prices are not as high relative to the other side. So I think those are some of the things that come in handy for that. Then we also have the facility letters from credit bureau history, popularly known as, for us in Kenya, popularly known as the CRB. So the banking industry definitely wants to understand whether if they get into business with you, how have you been faring on with other lending agencies? Then facility letters from previous banks. These are definitely the ones containing the terms and conditions for the whole process. Then demographics. Age is always an issue. I think from our group, we capped it at 77. And if it's not an established business, there is need to have a succession plan with the next of kin probably, or who will run the business. Then we have the KYC documentation. That is the ID and PIN. KYC is shortly, the bank wants to know who their customer is. So know your customer or know your client. So they need your ID, that is your biodata and your PIN, so that they are sure that you're a Kenyan or in good standing order with the KRA, even if you're not Kenyan. Then we have the supporting documents for lending, e.g. the invoices and sales agreements with key off-takers. Now, the key off-takers are definitely the guys who are buying the products that you guys will be producing, or the people who will be consuming your services. Yeah. Then the company profile. This is basically an introduction to know what you're doing, the activities or what you engage in. Then the mission goals and your strengths. And also the tax compliance certificate. It's issued by KRA. And the collateral and guarantors. This is basically for security to ensure that there will be a repayment. Yeah, that's what we discussed. And thank you so much. Maybe we can receive questions from the floor, if any.
Hello. I would like to ask about refugees. Does that mean if I'm a refugee, I'm not I can't access loans here in Kenya?
That's why I said for either locals or internationals, but now terms change from bank to bank. But
The bankers can give us.
the bankers maybe could give us an exact opinion. But I always see internationals coming in and they make investments. So I think they also have different terms that make them eligible.
Okay, that's a good question. What you do if you're, it depends. If you're a refugee, you'll either have a work permit or a business permit of a certain class for you to be able to access facilities, and also the work permit or alien ID, all those documents are part of the KYC that we look for. So it depends. It's whether you're working or in business. So you'll have either of those.
I have a question for a bank, CBA. Do you do warehouse receipting when giving out loans?
We've not yet started lending based on warehousing receipting, but it's a concept that is under consideration. So it's something that can be done in the future.
I think that's it, unless we have something from the online community.
Okay,
Thank
online.
you.
You have anyone from online?
Those have actually it's up to us, the online people, to work around the bottlenecks to access what has been provided for us. We need to work smart.
I think I can read the comment from Bernard from online. Besides what has been presented, smallholders can access credit when they come together, and this increases volumes in production and also for marketing. For value addition, it makes economic sense to process large volumes. It reduces cost if we work in large group. That is a comment from Bernard. Then we had feedback from group 1 from the online participants, and they were looking at the bottlenecks access to finance. Then number 1 was for smallholder farmers, turnaround time is too long. We end up losing good customers. Number 2, the products are too general and don't speak to the farmer's need. Number 3, no grace period, yet agribusiness has seed time, then harvest, a process we can't jump or deny. Number 4, youth and women don't have land or logbook ownership, so collateral is an issue. Productivity is affected, and so is profitability. Then we have a comment from Jane Geshuho. The expectations are very many, and a sure way to create more bottlenecks for farmers.
Yeah, okay. I think that is all for the presentations. And we can clap for the group 2. And then we can clap for all of us. Thank you very much for that session. I think has brought us together, brought us the issues. And those are issues we can say are more like our takeaway. Now, yep, you still have one question.
So we are okay.
so, so interest is not a problem. So So they don't have their own. So that's why they are not even factoring the interest. So you need to give the loans first, then ask for the interest. Okay, so I think we can move to the next session. The next session, we have a survey. I'll give Edda to lead us to the survey. And I think this survey and the crossing is what is standing between us and lunch. So Edda, I'll give you the mic. And then for the online team, we have put the link on, you can open the link provided, then you can do the survey for us, please. So Edda.
Hello, good afternoon. I know that it's our stomachs are pinching and we'd like to go for lunch, but before I invite you for lunch, I'd love that you take a survey. We have copies of the QR code on each table. I think I put at least 3 copies. So if you have a QR scanner on your phone, please go to your QR code so that scan QR code so that you're able to scan and access the link to the survey. So the survey is very short, should take you about 2 minutes. Do the people online have already the link? Huh? Okay. So, and if you don't have the QR scanner on your phone, then you can use Google. Just search for it on Google, then it should be able to come. If you are able to access the internet. If you're not, then that is the password and also the username to the Wi-Fi. Who has been able to scan? By a show of hand. So we only have 5 people. The rest? I want to take you through the question because out of experience, the last time we did a satisfactory survey, people were able to access, but then when people left for lunch, they forgot and continued taking lunch. So I just want to take you through. So of course, let me just also scan mine. By a show of hand again, who is able to access the survey? Please. I want at least 3/4 of us to give us feedback. So first of all, you can click for data privacy information and rights, because you'll be giving us information on your enterprise, the leadership of your company, etc. So just write the name of your enterprise or organization on the first slot or space. Then the next is just click on the drop down and type Kenya because you're in Kenya. So also specify if your company is female-led or male-led. So if it's male-led, you just say no. Sorry, if it's female-led, you say no. If it's male-led, you say female-led, you say yes. Sorry, confusing you guys. So what kind of service did you use? And here is where most of you ask the question. So if you click the drop down, it will bring you a lot of options. Just say or just type their training or workshop. Then it will give you the option will pop up and you select it. Actually, it's the second last option. So this was a workshop. How satisfied were you with this service? So you specify Then what did you like particularly about this workshop? You can just write a statement, a word or two, and what could be improved according to you. Who is finding it a challenge to access the link? I can give you my phone to use. Then after filling in the slots, just submit and we will receive your feedback. Okay, so the survey helps us to gauge your level of satisfaction of the event. And in addition, it also helps us to know where we need to pull up our socks as the organizers of the event. And ideally, it also helps us to know the gaps that we have in terms of the services that we offer. Do we do a lot of trainings, a lot of maybe other kind of services as compared to the others? So we'll be able to find a balance of all the services that we should be offering. Thank you very much for undertaking the survey. And we invite you for lunch. It's at the main restaurant. Is it on ground floor? Ground floor, I think. Winnie, you have the information to where we should go for lunch? Yes. So before that, also after lunch, there's also a networking session, so it can extend from lunch. You can come back here so that we do a networking. You can at least find time to talk to people who you wanted to talk to. We have contacts here. We have companies. We have farmers. We have the GIZ and the Development Corporation. So maybe you have possible or potential projects you'd like to discuss with us. This is the time after lunch. That will be the time. So thank you. Winnie is coming to give more information regarding.
Okay, thank you. You can appreciate her with a clap. Yeah, thank you. We are coming to a close. For us, we are grateful for coming for this event by ASNet at GIZ. We are very grateful. And as I said at the beginning, this is the last event for this series. And we are continuing, we are opening another chapter, especially for the exporters. I don't know how many of you have heard of ESG, environmental, social, and governance. How many have heard of that? Jojo, I expect you to, as an exporter. These are new requirements by Europe. Actually, countries like Germany have made it a law. So meaning that for a farm or an exporter from Kenya to export to Germany at the EU, you have to be certified as an ESG farm or a producer. So we'll start this series. We'll be calling you, most of our farmers, and once you see the information, because the trainings will be free, and majority of them will be online or hybrid, then so that they can also know what is expected of them. It's a new requirement, it's a new standard requirement, and therefore it is very important. And as patriotic as we are, we really like to do as much export as possible for the sake of our country, for the sake of our farmers, so that we also remain competitive out there. Now I would like to call Winnie. Winnie has lunch, so she'll play for it. And she'll also probably pass a photo of thank and maybe coordinate also a group photo so that we have a group photo. So let her come. And for me, I thank you. We have been together. Thank you, Giorgio, for moderating the session. And thank you, everyone, for coming. And how else can I say thank you? I can only say, can you turn to the person behind you with a smile and tell him or her, thank you for watching my back. Can we do that? Thank you for watching my back. Okay, thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Henry amesema, today I can't just sit down there at the back and leave without without speaking. You know, I'm used to inviting you and shouting in emails and WhatsApp, inviting you to attend the workshops and the meetings, but rarely do I speak. So today I have the opportunities to speak. How are you? Yeah, thank you all so much for coming. We take this opportunity on behalf of Agriculture Sector Network, that is ASNET, and also GIZ. We thank you so much for sacrificing your time, most precious time. We know you have a very busy schedule, but you felt there is a need to be here so that we can run together. So we said we run together. So thank you all so much for coming, and we don't take it for granted. My other appreciation is for you responding to my invitation, because it is not like any other day when I send out an invitation and you respond. Si ni kweli? It's not easy to mobilize, si ni kweli? So thank you so much for responding to my invitation and also fulfilling it, because you can confirm and don't show up, si ndio? So thank you so much for responding and also for showing up. Lunch is ready. I don't want to keep you. So we are going to have our lunch ground floor at the main restaurant. So we can pick your lunch voucher there at the, oh, he's already giving them out. So I don't want to keep you. So thank you so much for coming. I know this is the climax for the series, for the Greentech workshop, but I'm looking forward to having more engagements in the upcoming workshops. I know Henry has mentioned about the ESG trainings, and my request is, if you would be interested to participate, because it is a program that is going to run for several months, like about 6-7 months. So kindly, you can register with me. You can send me your email. You can send me an email and tell me that you are interested, because we would want to kick off that program immediately from tomorrow. We want to start up. So, and since it's a long-term program, can you register through email? The other thing is, I notice very few people here are on board in ASNET. I'm sure you have already seen the benefits of joining ASNET membership, right? How many are ASNET members here? How many? At least I can see a good hand, a good number. My request is, if you are not in ASNET membership, imagine it's not only on Greentech. There are so many other opportunities that you can benefit from. You also have a good opportunity to network with all these stakeholders that you are seeing here. See, we have seen people requesting for contacts for the different banks. Imagine these banks are in ASNET and you can get their contacts, you can network with them whatever time that you want. So I'm inviting all those who are not on board, please come on board, work with us. Agriculture sector is very wide, and we need each other. We can, it's not a, ni timu gani inasema you can never walk alone? Ni gani? Ni gani? Liverpool. Sawa, mimi si wa Liverpool, lakini mimi, for Liverpool, they say you can never walk alone, sindio? And for ASNET, we are saying we are leaving no one behind. So I don't want you to be left behind. If you want to join membership, please get in touch and I'll share with you more details. And enjoy your lunch. Thank you. Anybody to read us with a word of prayer? Yes. Or Mimi. So I'm going to pray for lunch. Sindio, we pray for lunch because that is what we are going to take. Then CRC you in the afternoon for the networking. Sindio. So please, let's come back here. We know each other. Isikuwe ni kujua tu jina Winnie peke yake, kujua tu Eda peke yake na Peter. Please come and network with everybody. Sawa. Let us pray. I'll pray my Catholic, because I'm a Catholic. I'll pray my Catholic prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Bless us, O Lord, with this gift which you are about to receive from your goodness through Christ our Lord. Amen. And in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Enjoy your lunch. Oh, sorry. We can have a group photo. I think we can have it here so that we can capture the banner. We can come here. For the online people, you can turn on your camera so that we can see you and we take a screenshot. Online people, please turn on your camera. Online people, you can turn on your camera so that we can see you. We are waiting for more. Are we on? I think so, yeah. This is better. Please, let's come here. Nyamule ndari ya kidogo. Kindly tukuje hapa mbele.
Our online participants, please stay online for a bit and you turn on your videos. You only have one, a few more, I think 6. Then we can smile to the photo. And you tell us when you are taking so that you don't waste the smile. So thank you, our online participants. You are free to go. We have come to the end of our session. But for those who are physically present, you are welcome for the networking session. We'll be having snacks and drinks. Thank you.